Welcome to Udder Twaddle. This is episode 11.
Yes, the cud we've been chewing all week. Yes.
We're going to talk about what we've been covering all week, but amongst ourselves and doing and behind the scenes things. We will recap some of the Nerf stuff probably another time since we went to our first Nerf event.
Last weekend was the first Nerf war, and it was a ton of fun. We were exhausted and sore for several days after, but it
we
was
also
well
have
worth it.
Jared's epic Nerf battle coming up, so we will tackle that probably next week. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yep.
But recently, we just went to go see Miss Marvel. I did it again. I said
You
Miss
keep
Marvel.
going Miss Marvel,
Damn it.
and no, it's Captain Marvel. Different character.
I've been trying not to say Miss Marvel for like an hour, and it just keeps coming out. Like, Miss Marvel is which character? That
was Jean
right?
Grey's
Yeah.
early name in the early days of the X-Men. She went
Wrong
by
one.
Ms. Marvel.
Captain
But,
Marvel.
I mean, there are other ties between this incarnation of Captain Marvel and the X-Men, because this incarnation of Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers.
Wasn't she the one that got her powers stolen from her in the comics?
In earlier days, post Jean Grey Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers, was a Ms. Marvel, I believe. But she actually fought Rogue, who touched her and stole her powers.
That's how Rogue got the flight powers.
Well, the way in the comics in the earlier stages, I don't know about the more recent reboots of the Marvel Universe, was she could touch somebody and steal their powers, and it would kind of knock them unconscious.
Yeah,
If she touched them a second time, it ended up killing them, and
is it like permanent absorption?
it would kill them. Well, with Carol Danvers, this happened, and it killed Carol Danvers, but Rogue ended up permanently keeping her powers. That's how Rogue got the super strength, the invulnerability, the ability to fly.
I'm curious if they're ever going to merge the X-Men back into the Marvel universe and bring X-Men over to Disney.
There's a lot of talk about that.
That might actually become a storyline in the future, which would be kind of neat.
Well, no, because Carol Danvers is now Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
The original Captain Marvel was, a Kree named Marvel.
Yeah.
And he was Captain Marvel, and he'd gotten,
Okay, anyway, back to the movie.
Old iteration of Captain.
So that's the old history, and this new history is actually pretty awesome. I really loved the movie. I adored it. I thought they ramped up the storyline really well. I think they gave some decent background. I loved
some good character development, background, good casting all the way around. I thought Brie Larson did a fantastic job as Captain Marvel.
And it was kind of the introduction of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
Back when he was actually a field agent.
He was just a field agent. Was it even part of S.H.I.E.L.D. at that point?
Yes.
That was S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
That was
the early days of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Field agent, yes.
And, Coulson was also there. But
spoiler for anybody that wasn't aware that
Coulson's in the movie?
That Coulson was in the movie.
It's
a very
not
young,
long
Coulson.
It's kind of a cameo, sort of.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the details, but it's great.
Basically, along with the spoiler, is being the early days as, Nick Fury being an actual field agent and not head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson, he's a rookie.
Yeah, he's the rookie of the bunch, which is the cool thing about it.
First missions out. He is very green, very rookie, and
you can see that Fury is an experienced field agent, and he's teaching a rookie, and blah blah blah.
Yes.
And that's just the cool part of it, is that this is new to them in the their whole experience. Of
doing this is sort
Carol.
of that origin of Coulson, being a rookie field agent,
and his relationship with Fury is kind of
and Fury being his FTO, his field training officer. You see where that bonding and that loyalty begins. For the almost fanboy-esque attitude that Coulson has towards Fury.
Yeah.
Because it began in the early days of his, training and, working up as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I feel like it fills in a little bit of gap of past storylines, a little bit more character development on everybody's level, and I loved that aspect of Captain Marvel.
Yes, it fills in a lot of gaps on Fury's history, Coulson's history.
I'm not going to touch on that particular note.
No more spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil things, but I'm just saying I think
as far as what is actually developed as part of the
is a key storyline in Fury's storyline is all I'm going to say.
Yes.
But it's awesome.
And Fury actually has hair.
Yes. Well, the thing is, like, after we watched the movie, I came home and, you occasionally see those Capital One commercials with Samuel L. Jackson. And I realized how much they de-aged him in the special effects. And I'm like, they did a really fantastic job. And I kind of wonder...
really good at digitally de-aging people.
I really want to see the behind the scenes of that because I'm curious how they did it because it kind of reminds me of some of his earlier films. And I wonder if they kind of 3D'd one of Samuel L. Jackson's earliest films and just kind of like re-imaged his face.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's
to a younger
almost
self.
Almost like photoshopping out wrinkles. I'm sure they referenced...
They did more than that.
Well, I'm saying it's like doing that. It's like
I've
going
seen that
in
other
and
movies.
photoshopping, touching up a picture to take out wrinkles,
speaking of the
fix
earlier
blemishes
X-Men.
and stuff. I'm sure they referenced a lot of his early films to see how he actually looked at that age, and then used it as a reference for digitally de-aging him.
It was kind of like the whole Captain Xavier and Magneto going to see the younger Rogue when they were younger. They de-wrinkled them in that movie.
Wrong Xavier. You're thinking of the Nerfer. You're talking about Professor Xavier.
My brain is all over the place.
Yes. Captain Xavier is a YouTube Nerfer. He's huge in the Nerf community. He does a lot of great Nerf videos. It's hilarious.
Captain Xavier with his head bald.
A lot
and
of
the
them.
X-Men logo.
Yeah. Yeah, with its X-Strike logo. That's where that came from, but we're not gonna. Yeah, we can talk more about nerfing stuff later. But yeah, that's where that slip up came from. But yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, but you knew what I meant.
Yes,
as far
they
as
digitally de-aged, Professor X and Magneto. They also did it for the second Tron movie,
and you could tell that they did the de-wrinkle effect. There is a certain
the digital
something
de-aging.
in the digital de-aging that they did, but I think that they actually used different technology in this movie. It looked much smoother, cleaner, and looked like almost a whole different face.
What was it?
In some ways,
Men in Black 2, where they went back in time.
They did the same thing to Tommy Lee Jones. I was right that time.
Well, they completely recast him for the early.
You know roles, what I mean? But... Okay. Anyway, special effects were fantastic in Captain Marvel.
Same actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, tangent. We're
back to Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And I think probably where the whole Nerf thing in my head came up is there is a Nerf gun in Captain Marvel, and I won't spoil where, but you'll see it.
Yes.
And that's kind of like I'm getting my things in my head mixed up.
Yeah, it all seems to tie in, doesn't it?
I know, it's weird.
Crazy.
But yeah. I digged the whole, I want to say women empowerment thing with Captain Marvel, but at the same time, it was more about personal empowerment. Like battling against diversity, adversity is what I was looking for.
Well, and this movie kind of tackles both. I mean, it's Marvel's first female-led superhero movie. And for quite a few years, a lot of fans, were clamoring and begging for a Black Widow movie.
I really wanted a Black Widow movie, too.
And the rumors floating around is there will be a Black Widow movie.
Mm-hmm. At some point or another.
Yes.
And hopefully they do better than the whole backstory stuff and
but Marvel chose to go with Captain Marvel to tie it all in, with the Avengers and Thanos and the Infinity Stones and all of this because she is quite powerful and
oh yeah. Oh, stay to the very end. You do get some at the usual clips at the end of the movie.
Yeah, the end credit sequences. Yes,
stick around. They're fun. They're awesome, and you'll see her tied into the next Avengers movie at that moment. And I remember seeing the trailers for the next Avengers movie and seeing kind of, when they have a line of superheroes walking, there was like a gap and people were pointing out that it looked Photoshopped, this gap. And I was like, that's probably where she's standing. And they just didn't want to spoil that she's in the movie or give anything away.
Well, everybody knows she's going to be in the movie.
You would think, but they didn't want to give anything away before you actually saw her movie.
Give it away too much, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it does, kind of, provide some, female empowerment gender-wise, in a lot in the same way that Wonder Woman did. For DC. Another fantastic female-led movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole cast in Wonder Woman was basically they focused on trying to hire a lot of women for that cast as well. Production crew, I should say. The background people, the directors and the groups.
Yeah, the director, was a woman, and
special effects people. They really focused on trying to hire more women in the movie. And I thought that was fantastic. And I think it's great when you kind of embrace that feeling because
embrace the change, and
if in Themyscira, having the fully female society that's the world that Wonder Woman comes from. So it made sense to film it in a world kind of like where Wonder Woman comes from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a different feel, a different...
Well, I mean, yeah, that would help the feel on the set during production.
Yes.
But for the moviegoer, it really doesn't, change, the...
Probably not. But they did
experience
get
of the
real
movie,
women athletes and top people to play Amazonian women.
Yes.
And I loved that. I loved seeing them, and you're kind of like, that's a famous soccer star, or that's a really great stunt woman and stuff, and just like all natural power, not
and it is
not 300 fake abs. I'm just talking like they were 100% real.
Yes, and it is another big step forward in diversifying film.
Yes.
You've got
There's
all
been
of these.
there were
a lot of complaints, about Captain Marvel. You see them all over the internet. All of the
what complaints?
Well, about because it's a female led, a female led movie, a female superhero.
No, I think the world these days is more embracing of that, but there's still people that were trying to talk it down and sabotage reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that before the movie even came out. That's ridiculous.
And I think it's ridiculous that sites like that allow you to post reviews before a movie's even released. How can you legitimately post an honest review?
Release times for what would say like.
Well, you've got premieres. The actual Hollywood premiere happens like a week before it hits regular theaters. But
I wonder if they do pre-releases for movie reviewers still. I mean, they used to do that a long time ago. Like they would release the movie so that movie reviewers could review it the day of it comes out.
Probably after the actual Hollywood premiere and that whole week leading up, they probably have special screenings for movie reviewers, the big name reviewers.
But you shouldn't be able to post that stuff online. There should be like a restriction.
Exactly. They should not, unlock and open up, for reviews and votes on Rotten Tomatoes until the day the movie officially releases to the public.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anything, prior should be thrown out because it can't really be a legitimate reviewer from, Joe Schmuck in Idaho.
But, movie reviewers, I think people are embracing the change a lot more lately of different changes in superheroes. Like, when Nick Fury was changed to Samuel L. Jackson, I think there was kind of a feud about that back then.
Well, but in the Ultimate Universe, in the comics, before any of the Avengers movies came out.
Way back when, yeah.
They had changed Nick Fury and made him black, African American.
Well, and I think later on in the comics, they actually modeled him after Samuel L. Jackson, which made it kind of an ironic thing that when they hired him to be that character, it was perfect. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how to explain it. I think the modern age now really embraces changes better if you do it well.
Yes.
And we were talking about that. We were watching... Oh, it was after the Oscars. I think we were talking about Black Panther.
Yeah.
And how it finally got recognized for some really great special effects and stuff.
Yeah, because it was a more of a groundbreaking movie because it was an almost entirely African American cast.
Mm-hmm. And same the production crew. Well, in bits and pieces, but
yeah, because it was all. I mean, it was set in Africa, so it was all African actors or African American. Mm-hmm. Except for the two Tolkien white boys.
Yeah, Tolkien, because they were in Tolkien movies.
Yes,
but that completely was embraced from top to bottom. It was
yes.
It embraced the culture. It embraced the style. It embraced the interactions between people.
Well, an African society.
Yeah. And allowed actors to really shine. Like, all of the actors really shined. I mean, like...
And yeah, it had its own, set of, racist idiots that, were throwing fits about it. But, overall, I think, it was very, widely embraced and
it was
loved.
Fantastic movie.
Yes.
I mean, you take one actor from that movie and you know that they're great actors. But if you put them in a good environment like Marvel seems to... shine and Disney's embracing.
Good story will bring out
great acting,
great performances, from great actors.
And for that brief example, you were mentioning the other day, how
and
Michael B. Jordan was fantastic.
Yes, he was excellent as Killmonger in Black Panther. And that really let him act. He gave an incredible performance.
He gave it 110%. I mean, just amazing.
You get good actors in good roles like that, and they give you good performances. You take a good actor like that and put them in a bad script, in a bad role.
Like the Fantastic Four movie?
Yes, because he was the recast of Johnny Storm for the most recent Fantastic Four reboot.
And that's what the differences we're talking about, is like you throw him in a movie that's not done so well, it's slapdash put together.
It did not utilize the actor.
It didn't let him use his talents.
You could have taken Michael B. Jordan out of the Fantastic Four reboot and
put anybody else in there.
Another, black actor in there, because they recast him, for the sake of diversity. That was it. And that was obvious because they didn't really use the actor.
They didn't change the character to fit the actor, or vice versa. I mean, they didn't.
Yes, the character was still exactly the same. Still Johnny Storm, still, the arrogant kid, the hotshot show-off type. They could have put in, like I said, another black actor in, or they could have put a white actor in, and it still would have been the same. It was such a two-dimensional token part. Change for diversity only.
Exactly.
And it really didn't advance
those are the kinds
any equality or diversity. It was just very surface diversity change.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that irritates me. This is just for changes sake. Whereas if you throw somebody into a role that is like fully embracing who that actor is, for example, Aquaman, yes.
Jason Momoa
is an Islander.
Island boy. Yeah.
He's has that kind of culture, and he embraces the ocean. He brings that entire feel and
that whole
everything.
Island culture, of the islands. You've got, Fiji and Guam and the Philippines, all of those, Southeast Asian, Pacific island cultures. Hawaii, they have, their ocean, gods from way back, in their ocean culture. It made sense to cast someone like that as Aquaman.
Yeah. And
Jason Momoa
nailed it.
Perfect.
He was perfect for it.
He nailed it. And as such, it kind of altered the origin and history of the Aquaman character to the point where they cast another, Islander as, to play the role of his father in the movie, along with, a lot of the other, background Atlanteans and stuff like that.
See, that's the thing, is they embraced it and they made it their own, and they made it beautiful.
They fully embraced it and made enough changes to make sense of the casting and made it fit very well.
And that's where you can take a really good idea and you completely redesign around it. You just make it way better. I mean, you can take an origin story from anything and change it and make it better. And, I mean, there's no discounting the original Aquaman stories. Love those. They're good.
Right.
But this movie is its own new flavor. It's a new thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also something that happens like from when you go from books to movies sometimes, is you may have things that are so similar, like their Harry Potters between the books to movies are very, very similar. And they just took out bits and pieces, kept it very close to.
Well, we're talking about superhero movies. You are going from books. They're comic books.
Yeah, they are. That's what I'm saying. But
they're still, going from, book to movie.
But in the same way, if you redesign it and you change it, you can still make something that's completely unique and beautiful. Like we were talking about with Ready Player One.
Yes.
And I was glad to see they were nominated for the Oscar, although I was really mad that they didn't win for special effects. But anyway,
yes.
Yeah. So we both have finally read, audiobooked.
Yeah, we listened to the audiobook.
The Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
This was after we saw the movie.
Yes, we saw the movie first, so that was our introduction, the first experience with Ready Player One.
And I love
I've got a long time friend of mine that had been badgering me for several years, telling me I should, read the book, get the audiobook, listen to it, Will Wheaton narrates the audiobook.
Which is fantastic. I think it's great. I mean, there are bits and pieces I don't like I don't know.
Well,
he doesn't do accents very well.
Yeah, he doesn't really do accents or voice changes for different characters.
Not very much, but I
mean,
he knows he knows geek, and he knows how to read it, and he understands the nuances of everything he's reading in the book, because the book is a litany of geekery.
It is cram packed, cover to cover,
from
just
Dungeons and Dragons stuff to Star Trek, Star Wars, to
video games,
movies, obscure computer references.
Yes, old original, computers, Atari 2600 consoles, Pong, and all of,
it is
the varied,
is very well researched.
Yes.
The author did a fantastic job at the book and researching it. And there
did a fantastic job at the movie.
And he also wrote the script for the movie.
He wrote the screenplay for the movie.
And this is where you have to kind of let go the book to movie.
Well, when the movie came out, fans of the book lost their minds.
Because it's not exactly like the book.
And complained because it is, saying it's not exactly like the book is a monumental understatement.
It's different.
It is almost completely different. And the way I, have described it when we were talking about it earlier this week is like you set two authors down and you
give them a baseline story.
You give them the base plot. Say, here are the characters. These are their names. Here's the goal. You've got this, Easter egg in this virtual world. In order to, if they get it, they own everything.
Here's the summary.
They've got 3 challenges they've got to complete, to get to this Easter egg in the virtual world.
Keys, gates, etc. to unlock and
very,
get to
very
this
basic
egg.
Plot details and saying, okay, write the story.
Now you're in this futuristic world that has an evil corporation that's against these people.
Yes.
Go. And that's pretty much where you have it.
And both authors, give you those basic elements, but all of the details from A to Z are completely different.
Now, if you've seen the movie, and I highly recommend it, it is full of Steven Spielberg references and movies and stuff because Steven Spielberg actually teamed up to do this movie. So having that complete geekery there is awesome. And
yes.
When you do a visual medium versus a written medium, you can show people all the cool things. You can sit and watch this movie and point in the back and go, I see Marvin the Martian. I see this. I see that. I see that. Mm-hmm. I see Ninja Turtles. And you don't have to write it down.
You don't have to write it and, have it spoken and pointed out to you because you can see it visually in the background. If you miss it, it's your own fault.
Yeah. So there's a difference to those two things. And also with movies, you can't always do everything you want to do because of copyright issues. There were limitations with the movie. Yeah,
there's a difference between mentioning something in a book and then getting the visual proper rights permissions to visually show that in a movie. That character or, that, book or, piece of technology. So
there are limitations.
Things have to be changed and rewritten.
So you have to understand that when you move into it. But at the same time, if you watch the movie first and then read the book, you're still going to get a really enjoyable experience because the book is different, but you already know these characters.
Yes, I enjoyed both versions equally. I loved both of them. The book was very good. I have
my comparison things that I didn't like.
The movie I enjoyed was very good. And like I said, it is completely different. Character attitudes, personality quirks are different between the book and the movie. Artemis in the book is different than Artemis in the movie.
And that's the girl.
Personality quirks. Yeah, the girl.
And Z, who's the main character, in the book, I thought he was way more clever and sneaky and smart and stuff. But in the movie, I thought he was kind of dragged into this world. A shy, apprehensive, just kid. The thing I like about the book is they bring in the virtual education aspect that they go into in the book. I loved. Didn't touch on that in the movie at all. They didn't teach how they teach these kids these days in this modern world or whatever.
Yeah, modern school in the book
is you can go to a virtual
in the Oasis.
Yeah, you can go to a virtual high school
and go to a school world basically.
Yeah, and it's really cool, and I loved that new aspect and things you learn in the book.
Instead of building an actual campus, in the real world.
Everything's electronic books.
It's all virtual to where you could have students in the same classroom from all around the world because they're all meeting in a virtual space, not a literal physical space. I think
that could be the future of education. I think that would be fantastic if you could get to that point. But anyway.
Well, you would have, a lot more, diversity in the students and more standardized education. Mm-hmm. Everyone is learning the same way, the same things,
Yeah. So there were different things about the movie and book that I don't want to get too far into spoilers, but the one things that they cut out in the movie that they had in the book was that there were keys to go into doors, which gave you extra challenges you had to compete. So each level, like there's 3 levels of challenges, each level had extra challenge to it.
In the movie, you just had to get the 3 keys.
Yeah, it was just getting the keys, and
you get
the keys unlock the end.
The 3 keys unlock the 3 locks for the final door to get to the Easter egg.
In the book, it's a key to get to a door.
Yeah, you find the key, which unlocks the gate, which is the actual challenge.
And you get a clue to find where the gate is, so there's a lot more to it.
Yes, you have the clue to find the key, and then once you've got the key, you get the clue to find the gate. Mm-hmm. The key unlocks the gate, you go through the gate's challenge.
And that's when you get extra points and such. And one of the cool things...
you get the clue to find the second key that leads to the second gate, and so on.
The coolest thing about the book that I loved was the gate challenge that made you act your way through a movie.
Yes.
I loved that. And I won't spoil on what movie it is or whatever, but it's so cool because it's like, okay, it throws you into this virtual pocket universe where you are playing the actor in a role.
You're playing the role,
and you have to come up with the lines as they go, and you get extra points
line by line through the whole movie.
You get extra points if you get the nuances or the hand gestures, or you do the extra gestures.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine some of your favorite movies and getting to act your way through them? I mean, come on.
I can think of a few movies that would be.
I would do Princess Bride like that. That would be so fun. So yeah. But yeah, going book to movie, like the movie of Ready Player One, we'll watch it. We've watched it on a repeat a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
Honestly.
Seen it quite a few times
enjoying
since it
so
came
much.
out. Yes.
So don't discount a movie.
I mean, that movie you could rewatch 100 times and probably not spot all of the Easter eggs, all of the characters and little things in the background.
I didn't even notice the additions to his car
replay value
at all until I read the book and read the additions he added to his car, which is the DeLorean you see in the trailers and stuff.
The Back to the Future
there
DeLorean.
Are additions.
If you go back and look, rewatch the movie and look. If you didn't notice the first time, look at the front of his car during the opening race of the movie.
Yeah, that's just one little thing.
You'll see kits from Knight Rider.
The little back and
red
forth
LED
red line.
eye that kind of
I don't know how I missed it the first like 3 or 4 times I saw the movie and I read the book and I went,
the DeLorean.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't notice that until after the book.
Yeah.
And we went back and watched, and sure enough, it's there.
So they did add quite a bit of little extra details in the movie, probably the most they could to fit within that medium.
They did add the Ecto 88 license plate on the DeLorean.
Did they?
It is there. That. You see it very briefly. You have to be really looking for it. But in the movie, they did not put the Ghostbusters logo on the doors
probably
like he did in
copyright.
the book.
I'm guessing
that's probably a copyright issue.
Yeah. So just keep an open mind when you watch these different movies. Read a book to movie. Just keep an open mind. Don't be so critical right off the bat.
Well, and there's going to be changes going from book to movie in every transition from book to movie.
Whether it's comic,
it's
to
going
movie,
to be different.
Or anything.
And before you go off on a flame rant, online about it, keep in mind sometimes those changes, like I said, are made for copyright reasons. Mm-hmm. That you just can't, get the permissions to use it in a visual medium, whereas it's okay to reference it in a book, but you can't show the character or the reference. And so things have to be rewritten. Stuff is taken out, for time constraints. You don't end up with a 3-hour movie. There was stuff in the Harry Potter books that didn't show up in the movie because of time. It would have extended and made, the movies even longer. And
one of the things that, I guess the whole theme of this podcast is the changes. Sometimes they make changes just to make changes, but sometimes they're really making it intentionally to try and enhance it and make it better.
There are reasons for the change.
So you have to just kind of hope that they're not making changes for change's sake, and hoping they're just trying to make the experience a lot better experience.
Well, again, those, changes just for the sake of change are usually very noticeable. Mm-hmm. And you can tell it was a change just for change. Once again, we go back to the Fantastic Four reboot.
We're not going back to that.
No, not. But I'm just saying that was obvious that it was a change for the sake of change.
I think movie studios and everything now are going better at embracing change. Embracing it across the board. I think they're just really understanding that that's what the viewer wants. Viewer wants to see a better world.
Yeah, a more diverse, equal world.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's a good way to wrap this up. Because we gotta go.
Yeah.
Because we talked about last time about just going, okay, we're done. That's it.
Yep, turn the lights out when you leave. Bye.
Don't let that. No.
Whoa, hey, easy now.
Wait, that's not the right phrase.
Don't let the doorknob hit you with a good old split you.
That was the phrase I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
But yes, I need more brain juice. More coffee.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, more coffee sounds good.
Let's go brew some more coffee.
Go get more coffee. You guys have a good week.
Later.
We'll see you next time. Well, we won't see you. You won't necessarily see us.
You might see us. I do have a video or two.
Catch you next time.
Catch you next time.